EGM Network.
Good afternoon, America. It's good to be here today. This is my number 3 broadcast with Jesse and the Evergreen Media Group.
Yeah.
They're on top of their game, folks. So I'll have Jesse come in a little bit, explain some stuff to you about them. Before I really get started, I did look up how many billionaires there are in the United States. According to Forbes, 813 billionaires. And that's a lot of billionaires, when you add up all that money, So, Jesse's, in our last podcast, he kind of showed you what $1 billion actually looks like, right?
That's right.
It was a big chunk of money, right?
It was.
And there's 813 guys who had that chunk of money, and I think Musk has like almost 500 billion of it, so he's in pretty good shape.
He is.
And the other thing I wanted to mention, in the last broadcast I mentioned our president, he tends to try to brainwash people to listen to him. And I picked up on his latest brainwash, like to pass that on to you. Totally exonerated. I've heard that 3 or 4 times in the past week. Now, what that means to me is that he's trying to tell you he's got nothing to worry about. But unfortunately, he hasn't released those files yet. And I got kind of excited today because I saw something on the internet that said Trump released files. I said, maybe he's totally exonerated. He's releasing those 3 million files that he hadn't released already. Well, he's releasing stuff about UFOs and aliens. Those are the files he's releasing. It could be a distraction. I don't know, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And the other thing, I saw him on talking to a reporter, and he was saying, they were talking, why wouldn't you support ICE, identifying themselves with no mask and name tags, similar to what we were talking about in the last podcast. Well, he says he wants to protect ICE. Now, I thought ICE was supposed to protect us, but now he wants to protect ICE and they don't protect us. I'm not sure how that works. Kind of reminds me of the brown shirts in Germany in the 30s.
Right.
Well, anyway, this is Wake Up America, and it's brought to you by Sir Pelton LLC. And as you know, we sell tax certificates in the secondary market. I buy tax certificates primarily in Florida. Buyer beware. If I were to sell them to you, they're buyer beware, just like me. So anyway, this is our 3rd podcast, and I'm probably repeating that. And I was thinking, gee, what's number 3 mean to me? Well, when I was growing up, you know who number 3 was? In the Boston Red Sox? Pete Reynolds. And Pete Reynolds was a funny guy. Somehow they couldn't find a place to hit Pete Reynolds. They moved to second base, first base, whatever. They keep moving him around. He led the league in hitting. Didn't hit any home runs, so they got rid of him. And I think they brought this guy in, Dick Stewart. All he did was strike out. So it was a real good move by the old Boston Red Sox. Okay. And in the last podcast, I have a goal, all right? I'm growing up, 10 years old or whatever, there was 2 things I watched on TV, Superman and Dragnet. So in the Superman, that would start off, truth, justice is the American way. And I would really like to see that come back if it was ever there. And Dragnet in the 50s, Joe Friday, just the facts. When you see these guys on TV, they interview somebody, ask them a question, they let them go on to their campaign speech, and they don't answer the question. No. I'm trying to give you just the facts. So as I find them, I report the facts to you. You take them or leave them. Anything I find, if you were to probably look it up on the internet, you can find the same thing. But everybody's really, really busy, so that's the way it works. So we will be working real hard to deliver the American way and the truth. And I have a new slogan for the program. I never leave home without my American Express card. I hope I didn't violate anything, Jesse.
No, I don't think so. We'll be happy to welcome them on as a sponsor.
And I never do a
want.
podcast without Jesse. So those two things I won't do.
All right.
So Evergreen Media Open House. Jesse, do you have anything you might want to say on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're having an open house this upcoming Thursday. It's February 26th from 3 to 6 p.m. We're opening our doors. If you ever wanted to see what the podcast studio looks like or meet any of our hosts, come on, drop by. It's free. We're opening our doors. We've got snacks. We've got drinks. And we're even live streaming. We're going to try to live stream the whole 3 hours. So come out and see us. We're at 865 16th Place in Vero Beach. That's Evergreen Media.
Jesse, I do have a question, and I haven't asked this beforehand, so I might catch you with your pants down here or not. But
All right.
Anyway, suppose I had a friend in Maine and had a little business, and he wanted to do a podcast from Maine. Could you hook him up from here and accommodate him?
Absolutely, yeah. You can have up to 5 people remotely connect, and
So I clarify, they don't have to be in the studio, right? You could do this remotely.
We can do this remotely.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
they don't have to be
folks,
here.
you know, because if you want to do something for your business out in California, Jesse could help you, you know. So
That's right.
I just thought I would mention that to you anyway. So that's what I was thinking about.
That's right.
All right.
We'd love to have you.
And getting back into this stuff here now, you know, if I'm unhappy with our federal government, we need to vote these people out. I mean, if they're not doing the right things, we need to vote them out. And as I said in previous podcasts, and I'll say in future podcasts, in this election coming up, the midterm, your vote really counts. And the only time it won't count is Donald Trump were to declare martial law, go in and seize ballots from highly populated areas that might vote non-Republican. And we'll see what happens. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And as you know in previous podcasts, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm an American, non-party affiliated, independent voter, as in the old days, which is kind of interesting. Independent voters now outnumber political party enrollees.
Really?
Yeah, that's quite a thing, you know.
Yeah.
People don't want to participate. The problem with that is that they get beat up in the primaries. They can't vote in a lot of primaries. They're close primaries, so they can't vote. So they don't get to choose the candidate, which is sometimes really, really important, I would suspect.
That's true.
So anyway, so the power we have is our vote, especially in the House of Representatives and the Senate. If we vote those folks out, it has a big impact on Washington, D.C. Okay? So I strongly take a hard look at the people, make sure they're going to do what you want to do if you're unhappy, because 30% of Americans are happy with the Congress. 70% of us, and I'm one of them, I guess, we're not so happy. So if the 70% vote people out, and that can happen, we can change the whole landscape, okay? We can demand better things for working-class Americans, which we haven't gotten. Okay, so does anyone, moving on, last week, I happened to say there were 2 Americans that were shot by ACE, Renee Good and Alex Preddy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm unaware of any arrests in these shootings. I happen to say, I think today, and just last minute scratching here, the Minnesota, their government has requested that they get information from the federal government so they can do their own investigation. But the federal government has refused to give them any information. Now, the federal government was demanding that Minnesota work with them, and now when Minnesota reaches out and say, hey, you will help us with this investigation, they turn them down. Not the America I grew up in, folks. It's time to vote them out. Time to make major changes. Okay, and these victims, for the most part, were basically, from my perspective, were exercising their First Amendment rights. And what I see when I look closely at it, and I had never looked closely at this stuff until I started to want to do a podcast, and all of a sudden, whoa, it's a wake-up call, you know? You find out there's no justice in the justice system, you know? So Donald Trump signed something to get this. What's that guy's name? Jesse on the with all those high-powered people committed suicide and whatever.
Epstein.
Epstein, yeah, that's a guy, yeah. And there was a lady. She got a big settlement from the prince. Remember the prince? He got arrested, but he didn't get arrested for fooling around with females, right?
Right.
But she moved to Australia, millions of dollars, committed suicide. And Epstein, a billionaire that had the goods on everybody, if you listen to what they're talking about on television or the news broadcast, he had the goods on everybody. He committed suicide. Now, if you believe that, I want to sell you a bridge, okay? And by the way, I saw the Attorney General on months ago explaining there was a little blurb in the film, but it was like one rear was wrapping up and they were cutting over to another one, and there was like a 3-minute gap. And maybe it wasn't 3, but there was a gap, okay? There was a gap in there, and lo and behold, the 2 people that were watching the 4, they fell asleep. I wonder what's going on.
Yeah, fishy.
I guess, I mean, a whole bunch of odd things occurred, in terms of poor old Epstein. He committed suicide. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Okay. Anyway, moving on to the next item, I look at the president suing companies, and I say, wow, why would ABC, CBS pay off the president for these suits? I mean, there's, as I understand it, there has to be intent. If they say something wrong, it has to be intentionally proven. And that's almost like next to impossible. Anyway, they decided to pay him off. But, we must remember that these networks, they're not CBS News anymore. They're major trillion-dollar corporations, right? I mean, they're gigantic. You got to look them up and see how big they are. All the properties that they own. It's like when they say CBS, it's Paramount too, right?
Right.
They're absolutely huge.
Yeah.
So, and when you look at the news now, I remember when I was watching CBS, there's a guy named Walter Cronkite. Perhaps some of you folks might remember good old Walter, right? It was real in-depth news. I mean, he didn't fool around. He's the guy that went to Vietnam, came back and said, the United States is never going to win this war. And that was the beginning of the end of putting more troops in Vietnam in the attempt to win a war that was unwinnable. And so CBS has changed. They're not the same company anymore. They don't do business the same way. And speaking of CBS, they've hired a new editor for the newsroom, Barry Weiss. Anybody might have heard about Barry Weiss. I happen to see, I watch a lot of PBS programs, right? And Margaret Hoover, Firing Line, she's got some interesting interviews on. So if I see her, it's a half-an-hour show, and I tend to watch it most of the time. When I saw Barry Weiss was her guest, and this was an interview from 3 or 4 years ago, right? They were just replaying it. She's a self-declared Zionist. Now, me, I've heard the term before, but I never looked it up. I have no idea what that meant. So here I go in here. What is a Zionist, right?
Right.
And so when I looked that up, I was struck. It says, it seems to me a very unusual thing that the head of a newsroom would be a Zionist. Because how can you be fair to people, that are getting persecuted in Palestine? You just can't be fair. So it was just weird. So anyway, okay, I found that real strange. So you can look it up. It's all on the internet. Margaret Hoover interview and stuff like that. It's good information. All right. I always watch CBS in the morning program. Okay. And there was a guy, Anthony Mason, on it. This is like maybe go back 3-4 years. And he struck me as a real news person guy, right?
Okay.
They had they had Gil King or whatever, but never struck me as a truly had a good grasp of what's going on. But she's making $10-15 million a year, but I wouldn't leave either if I was her, So, well, anyway, Anthony Mason, who was basically the most newsworthy person on that morning show, was swapped out, and he was swapped out for a football player. So at that point in time, I decided no longer to watch that, and I went over to ABC. Now, I'm stuck on the guy's name, but there's a guy, Michael, on ABC in the morning, who was a football player.
Oh, is that Michael Strahan?
Say that again?
Michael Strahan?
That's the guy.
Okay.
Thank God you're here.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, Michael Strahan. Well, look at Michael Strahan. He's guy. I listen to him. He's got some compassion in what he talks about. When he sees things that are wrong, he'll make this comment. I'm waiting for him to get kicked off the ABC network for some of the mild comments he makes. And I like Michael. He looks like a pretty compassionate guy that wants to be pretty honest with the folks, and he wants things done correctly and right. So anyway, so now I watch ABC. So I no longer participate in that. The only show I was watching was the ABC Nightly News. They had two guys on there that I thought, Nora O'Donnell. I never watched Nora. I'm very disappointed in her. But anyway, when Nora left, they picked up Morris Du Bois and John Dickerson. It was like the guys on NBC years ago, whatever they name, Huntley and Brinkley. Except Huntley and Brinkley, one was in New York, one was in Washington, right?
Okay.
and they would talk to each other on the broadcast and pick up different pieces. Well, these guys were in the same place, sitting side by side, but same kind of thing. They talk and go on side by side, and they look like real professional news people, right? In the delivery, I really enjoyed watching them. It's like, hey, you're talking to somebody smart, These gentlemen put out a great broadcast. Unfortunately, they both left at the same time. Now, I didn't have enough time to research actually why they left at the same time, but they did leave at the same time. And Barry Weiss moved Tony DeCoppo, the guy from the morning show. He is now the programming anchor for CBS Evening News. Now, so when I see stuff like that happen now, because I'm doing a podcast, I look it up and say, well, I wonder why they moved this guy in, right?
Right.
Tony appears to be a strong supporter of Israel. And we know that, what's her name?
And that lines up with Barry Weiss's Zionist views.
Right. Barry Weiss is a Zionist. Now we got a strong supporter of Israel doing the news. And you can look that up on the internet. These are facts now. I tell you, just facts. I'm not making this stuff. It's facts. I'm not coloring. I'm not going any deeper than that. But if you're interested in finding out, take a look at it. Our world is changing. Who hired Barry Weiss is the next question I come up with, right?
Yeah.
David Ellison. Okay, I don't know David Ellison Quarter Wood, except probably got a ton of money. He's running Paramount Plus, 10, 15 companies underneath that umbrella. I mean, major player. So I look him up and say, who's your father? His father's Larry Ellison. Now, I know Larry Ellison because I used to be in the computer business, right? Oracle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Larry Ellison was a very active sailor, professionally, almost speaking. He'd get in a lot of big races and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong about that, but that's my recall with Larry Ellison. He'd do some major worldwide races. So the father and son, they want to buy Warner Brothers. Now, Netflix is basically, quote unquote, secured a deal, but no deal is secured until the paper's signed, right? So anyway, they're trying to buy a hostile takeover of Warner Brothers. Now, Warner Brothers has got, 15 different companies under their umbrella. Yeah. One is CNN, so, and we know that our president not real fond of CNN.
Right.
And Larry's a big contributor with our president. He goes to the White House. He has dinner with the president and stuff like that. So he's got a personal relationship with our president. So I hate to read stuff into it, but in the end, if push comes to shove, and if Warner Brothers were ever to approve their offer, then it would have to be approved as a merger by the FCC. And, if you're a friend of the president, you might get approval whether you deserve it or not. Right. We don't know. We have to wait to see how it plays out. So I just mentioned that to you. Keep your eye on that and see how it plays out, because it could affect how you want to vote in the next election. So the other thing I want to mention is, in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, 70s, 80s, my time, right, when a young guy, well, it's not the 30s so much, but there was no such thing as an internet, and where the power came from was newspapers, right? Then later on, maybe a little bit on the television, but not much, not like today. So anyway, a funny thing happened recently. Do you know TikTok? I mean, everybody knows TikTok, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Right. Well, TikTok, right? Mm-hmm. Jesse, I kept hearing that, China, right? China. And I'm saying these kids are dancing around in circles here and, jumping off roofs, landing on, springboards and whatever they're doing. Mm-hmm. Crazy stuff, right? Who cares? Right. China, I don't care,
Right.
Well, as it turns out, Michael Dell and Larry Ellison just acquired a major ownership in TikTok. So what do we got going here? We got the ability to control the message that people hear. We got TikTok. We might CBS, Warner Brothers, if it all goes down. Individual people, big corporations with strong influences to control the message. Now, I happened to look up TikTok, and I happened to find an article, Anti-Defamation League. Now, when I was working, we did some work for Jay Baker's, and I was asked to buy a table to go to an Anti-Defamation League meeting. No problem. Mm-hmm. We bought a table, went down. I went with Michael F., and I don't give last names, but Michael, if you're looking, it's me, Bill. Anyway, so we sat around and we heard all these people talking that, they would explain their situation and stuff like that. And it seems all normal to me, no problem. So, and anyway, that was it. And then shortly after that, the company I was with got sold, and I moved to Florida. So that ended my relationship with the ADL. But when I looked up the ADL on the internet, I found out that the ADL believed that the Netflix was anti-Israel, which I never look at network, so I have no idea whether that's true or not. But I throw that out there as just something that's floating around. You can look it up on the internet. So now Michael Dell and Larry Ellison, they control the messages on TikTok. So my question that I asked myself, that TikTok, did it really need to be sold? Was it China that we were selling it for? Or was it taking care of the Anti-Defamation League? I don't have an answer to that question, but I'm trying to give you things to think about, okay? So that's the way it goes. And we all know that Michael Dell and Larry Ellison are billionaires. The president is very fond of both these gentlemen, okay? And he was the one that, by law, was supposed to shut down TikTok. Didn't do it. By law, he's supposed to release the Epstein files, all of them. He ain't doing it. I mean, none of this is like what I expect from my government. So it turns out that these two people, Michael and Larry, very strong supporters of Donald Trump. So, as the new owners, did they just get lucky by that, or was all this delay for a reason? I don't know. Something to think about. So anyway, I want to move on, and maybe when I'm moving on, I'm moving back. Going back to CBS, 60 Minutes. Okay? Remember Paramount, who owned CBS, they want to acquire, they want to merge with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers basically is locked up with Netflix, supposedly. And you know, to get them unlocked, there's a penalty Warner Brothers would have to pay. $2.3 billion. But Larry says, you know, if you let us buy it, I'll pay the penalty for Warner Brothers. Imagine that kind of cash store. $2.3 billion. No problem, I'll pay it. You can't make this stuff up. It's just unbelievable. So anyway, with that, 60 Minutes was supposed to broadcast a program inside. Is that CCOT?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah,
inside CCOT. It was like these guys, these prisoners, right, Jesse? That you know, you saw them on some news and stuff like that, but they had done it. The people that put this program together said, you know, we have a good program here. It's solid, and the information is accurate. You know, it's good stuff. You know, the lawyers that looked at it before it was supposed to air, nothing wrong with this, right? Well, it got pulled last minute. Jesse, guess who pulled it?
Was it CBS?
CBS. And who's the lady in CBS running it now?
Barry Weiss.
Barry Weiss. Oh, yeah. That's how it works. So she decided to pull that. So anyway, it didn't get run. There's an uproar in the organization, and somebody was identifying. Let me see. I may have it back here. It's some type of corporate. Bear with me, folks. I put this together at 3 o'clock this morning, so not totally familiar.
That's CCOT. That was the
corporate censorship. It was identified by people that work for CBS as this is corporate censorship.
Yeah.
And, you know, if these things keep moving the way they're moving, and we got to get used to corporate censorship because I think it's going to happen all the time.
Yeah, that's happening. Okay. Yeah.
So there was two guys I was watching. I mentioned them earlier, Morris Du Bois and John Dickerson. And they left, like I said, you know, nice farewell day, right? But Dickerson did cite at some point in time, at least on the internet that I picked up, editorial independence concern. Now, if Walter Cronkite had editorial independence concern, I don't think he did. You know, he was running the show, and if he felt something was newsworthy, it got on the air.
Yeah, it didn't feel like corporate sponsors back then had as much influence.
Right. The only 60 Minutes, as I remember, Jesse, was there was something on tobacco that they pulled off.
Okay.
The guy that had put that together, the director or producer or whatever he was, he quit, and he went and he started Frontline. And if you don't watch PBS Frontline, you're really missing a lot of good information because they shoot straight. They give you the facts, just the facts. Great program. I watch it all the time. So I don't watch all this clown stuff that they have on TV. I want facts when I watch TV. Well, anyway, Anderson Cooper was leaving 60 Minutes.
Right.
Yeah. You know what his reason is? No. He wants to spend more time with his family. Now, I met Anderson Cooper once.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, my wife met him, and I was with her. She reached out, talking to him. We were in Paris, and he was coming outside of a church people tour, right?
Okay.
He says, hey, that's Anderson Cooper over there. Okay. I'm going to go say hi. Okay. So she went up and said, hey, Anderson Cooper, I love your show. Thank you very much. Very, very nice gentleman, right?
Thanks.
I said, Anderson Cooper, you know, I'm going to mention one thing to you. That, you know, it would be nice if you would spend some time looking at closed primaries on the United States. They lead to too much power for the parties. Every primary should be open so every independent voter could vote. And then I watched Anderson Cooper for a couple of months after that when he came back. Never didn't take my advice. I'm shocked, right? Well, anyways, that's a problem in America, closed primaries, right? Because when the people say, well, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm going to primary you out. That's why we
Right.
got to vote these guys out.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Brendan Carr, he's Federal Communications Commission, FCC.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody remember George W., the Bush guy?
Oh, yeah.
Right, the number 2. George W. Arnold Schwarzenegger was on an NBC program, a talk night, late night show, and the guy he was on with was Jay Leno.
Okay.
So he's running for governor, and the guy running against him, which was a Democrat, Arnold was a Republican, Bush is Republican, right?
Right.
The guy running against Democrats, hey, I want equal time. And George Bush said, no, you don't get equal time. We're changing the rule. These people basically can have anybody on they want and talk to them.
Yeah.
It's a talk show.
Yeah.
We don't have to give equal time. This is not a new show. If it's a new show and you came on as a candidate, then you got to give the opposition side same amount of time. But no. So it's been like that since, that's around 2000, 2002, whenever, I don't know, it's been like that for over 20 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was never challenged before. It was challenged once, and it was decided. And now we have this new guy, Brendan Carr. And the Republican senators, they endorsed him. They put him in there. And he was nominated by the president, approved by the senators. And Brendan Carr basically is trying to suppress First Amendment rights, okay? He's picking on Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, and The View. The ladies that sit around in the afternoon.
Right, yeah.
The View, right?
Yeah.
What are they doing, right? God, who watches The View anyway, right? Most people are working.
Right.
These programs speak about the president. Yeah, so, and I guess he doesn't like what they say about the president, Brendan Carr, and he's trying to pull this freedom of speech thing on these people, and that's the suppression of First Amendment rights. As we know, Jimmy Kimmel came off the air. A lot of people stopped going to Disney World, and Disney said, well, I think we're going to put Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. That's how that worked, right?
Yeah.
Stephen Colbert was not allowed to give a candidate in Texas an interview on TV. It was stopped by the CBS folks.
Mm-hmm.
The lawyer said, well, you can't do that. You can't do that. So what he did, he's got his own little YouTube page like me, me and Stephen were on YouTube. Right, Jesse?
Yeah, that's right.
And so we're on YouTube, and he came on YouTube. And unlike me, he did that interview. He got over 3 million hits on that interview. Can you imagine that? Jesse.
That's nice.
What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, that's right.
I want 3 million hits on this podcast. Come on, help me out, will you?
Yeah.
And The View, basically, for what Stephen did, they're being reviewed for the same thing.
Get the president to ban you, Bill, and we might get our viewership up.
Yeah. We're going to do our best, right,
Yeah,
Jesse? We're
that's
working on here. I call it, we hit the inch markers on the way to the milestone, right, Jess?
There you go.
So, okay. So anyway, my time's kind of up, and I hit a whole bunch of things. So look up Mark Zuckerberg and see how many companies they own. Jeff Bezos under the Amazon umbrella.
Yeah. Elon Musk with Twitter.
Yeah.
And X, they're all controlling these messages.
I got 3 pages of them, but I printed these out in case I ran out of things to say. But just, I don't think I ran out of things to say.
No, you didn't.
Just so, how can people, if they wanted, next week when I do my show, right?
Yeah.
If they wanted something to be done, how would they find it?
Yeah, well, if you want to get on the show, email wakeupAmericawithbill@gmail.com. Your email is wakeupAmericawithBillCrafton, and just want to let everybody know, please forward this podcast to every contact you have. The midterm election is critical to the survival of our country. It really is. The podcast should be treated as a chain letter. The messages in the podcast need to be viewed by millions of eyeballs. So let's get the ball rolling to restore dignity and respect in our country.
And my final statement to everybody out there, as Americans, we deserve better from our politicians. Thank you very much. Appreciate tuning in. Jesse?
Yes.
Oh, by the way, just real quick.
Yes.
Jesse, I was supposed to do a whole different show. I sent him an email and say, at 9 or 10 o'clock this morning, I say, hey, I'm not going to know what we're going to do, Jesse. I'm doing something totally different.
That's all
And I'll
right.
tell you, he didn't beat me up when I walked in. He's a hell of a guy. Thank you, Jesse.
All right. Thanks a lot, Bill.
Okay,
All
Paul.
right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
All right. Signing off.